Hey, BassGeek here, and you know I love to do some winter fishing. You can catch some toads, but there's 7 things you need to make sure you're not doing when you go out in the cold. That's right, geeks. We're going to talk about 7 things you need to make sure you are not doing, absolutely not doing when it comes to fishing in the wintertime. There's a lot of stuff that you can do, and there's a lot of things you can throw, and there's a lot of myths that we know about bass in the wintertime that just aren't true. However, there's some things that we're going to talk about that's going to keep you safe, it's going to keep you dry, going to keep you warm, and going to make your day in those chilly temps a little more enjoyable. So to get your day off to the right start, you absolutely want to make sure you're checking the details when launching your boat. One of the details absolutely has got to be walking down and checking the ramp. We're lucky, it's a little warm today. It's going to actually get up to the 60s. Not going to have a lot of sun, but it is going to warm up on us. But let's say it's freezing, below freezing. You want to walk down and make sure, even if the water temp's in the 40s or 50s, when that water laps up or people drive and pull their boats out of the water, that water can freeze. So walk down to the boat ramp and make sure that that ramp is not frozen. You do not want to lose your boat, your truck, or your life by sliding into a cold lake. There's a lot of things that go along with that. I never unhook my front hook on the boat because I live in the mountains. And I understand some of the lakes I fish are steep. So you want to make sure you leave that front hook, even if you're in those lowland, flat areas. When it gets cold, those bunks can be slick as ice and your boat can slide right off. I've seen it happen right on the ramp, and it can cause a lot of very expensive damage to your boat. So undo the back hooks and leave the front hook until the boat is right to the water to unhook it. Once you dunk the boat in the water, let that water kind of get into those nooks and crannies of your engine, your lower unit, and give it a second. That warmer water will thaw out a lot of ice that may be in there. No matter how much you drain it, which we'll talk about in a minute, that water will thaw out a lot of that ice. You start it, do not put it in gear. Let it run. Let it work that water through. Let it work out any sort of ice buildup or particles that may be in the engine, so you don't damage that lower unit, those gears, or anything in the motor. Let the motor warm up before you put it in gear. Make sure it's peeing. That may be the 7th don't, but it is number 1 when it comes to what it can cause you in repairs if you don't do it. Next up, I think you have to talk about being safe on the water. And I actually carry 2 life jackets with me. Now, I know, geeks, you're going to get on me because I know you see the videos, and even during the wintertime, I don't always have them on. So I'm going to be a little bit of a hypocrite here because I care more about you than I care about me. So I carry 2 life vests. This is for when I'm running because it's got the neck float. It's a little more, guaranteed. You hit a log, those gray, hazy days, a little bit of chop on the water. Sometimes it's hard to see a log that is barely submerged. So safety when you're running is very important, which I heavily don't recommend because it's cold already not to be running 60, 70, 80 miles an hour or more down the lake. I keep her pretty low. So keep your speed a little bit low during the wintertime, especially if it's like these lakes and they drop them, because a lot of stuff is going to break away and float. This is something that, especially if I'm by myself, I'm going to keep this on. It inflates if you hit the water, and this is going to be something that I keep on when I'm by myself and I'm fishing out in the cold weather alone, which I also don't truly recommend you do, but sometimes we want to go fishing. It is what it is. So number 6 has got to be a life vest. Have the right life vest. These, running down the lake, I don't put a whole lot in. So when you're running, have this puppy right here on. The next thing I want to talk about is boat effects. Now guys, you hear me talk about boat effects a whole lot, but we're going to talk predominantly, even though they make some incredible boating products, from boat locks to, you know, all your graph locks, all that stuff. Some really cool foam features, stuff that really, really pimp your boat out. But probably the most important thing, or really two things, is going to be their steps. Guys, this time of year, hey, you don't want to get your feet wet because it's going to make your time on the water super miserable. So the steps, but even more importantly than that, the booma step. That keeps you from having to balance on the tongue of the boat, which is not designed to be a step, which can get you in some bad predicaments, especially if you slip off this time of year, which can happen if it's super cold and the tongue gets wet and it sits in the parking lot and freezes. It is very dangerous. I know guys who have fallen across that tongue and broke several ribs. I've also known guys who have fallen off at the boat ramp, hit their head, and they're no longer with us. So those boat steps are extremely, extremely important. If you don't already have a set, check them out. I did a lot of research before I put them on my boat. I love my Boat Effects steps. Next up has got to be probably one of the most important things to me. And a lot of guys are going to use one or two different things to do this. I don't recommend you use sunglasses. The air can get in. I also don't recommend you use sunglasses when you drive, even if it's in the rain. I think it's very important to have something, A, that's not going to fog up, and B, that's not going to let a lot of the wind into your eyes when you're driving. Driving safe in the wintertime is a huge deal. Again, the gray skies are reflecting off the water, and it's very hard to see objects in the water this time of year, even with just a small amount of ripple and chop. I don't like to take up space with a helmet. If it's super cold, I understand that a helmet, and you can get them pretty cheap, like at Walmart, and they don't fog up, but I don't like a helmet because of how much space it takes up. What I like are these. These are ski goggles. I get them off Amazon. These are probably the best ones that I've ever bought. I will put links in the description of everything. They don't fog. Wind don't get up in them. Rain is great. I remember me and my buddy AJ were fishing a tournament a few years ago on Norris Lake. It was raining. We were having to make a long run. And what was great about that was AJ stopped the boat. He was like, "You're calling things out that I'm not even seeing." I gave him these goggles, toughed it out for the rest of the ride, and his words were, "This is like somebody cut the lights on." The high-vis yellow, to me, is the way to go. You can get them in the clear, and what I love about these is they're magnetic, and they're really strong, so they pop right back on. Now, what's great about them is they come in a couple of different lenses. One is for the real sunny days, but it actually is like a pair of glasses. It'll actually adjust itself and let a little more light in. But on days like today, when it's super cloudy, super overcast, that color right there. I think these are by, I'm not going to be able to tell you the name, Odoland. Like I said, whether it's a helmet you prefer or whether it's the goggles, make sure you're using something. I like having the option to run the high vis lens. That's why I do it. And they're really not that expensive. Again, links will be in the description. I think I paid maybe $32 for that, or maybe less than that. It might have been 24. There's some cheaper versions out there. The lenses are a little softer on those cheaper versions, so they scratch easy, so take care of them. Oakley makes some if you want to pay an outrageous, exorbitant amount of money for a pair, in my opinion. They're good, don't get me wrong, but you know, who knows what you're paying for those. But have some sort of eyewear. So number 4 is be able to see when you drive during the wintertime. So next up, and really probably the first thing you should do, be sure your batteries, before you back the boat down into the water, be sure those batteries are charged. Now, I use the Ionic lithium batteries. I got the Ionic charger. I've got the Ionic battery that you can put in a rod locker. Great for kayaks and small boats. You can run a lot of different things. It's a 16 volt, so you can run your graphs off of it. That's a big deal, and what I love about it is I can pull up on my phone and I can easily check how much charge those batteries have. So before I put it in the water, after I've unplugged it, I can pull that up. I can even do it while I'm driving down the road because the boat is close enough to me. I can keep a check on them on those cold days and make sure I'm not going to have any problems on the water. By the way, I do have a code for Ionic right here. Make sure you go check it out. So batteries and battery health, making sure you can do what you want to do and spend the day on the water, that's number 3. So number 2, and this is probably really should be number 1, but it's layering. And when we talk about layers, a lot of people want to start with a base layer, but that base layer had better be good socks and good boots. Now, we've been using these boots. We found them on Amazon. A lot of different people make them, but these are great. They don't get us cold. We don't have to wear real heavy wool socks a whole lot, but they keep the wind from blowing through on them. But they stay warm. The boots are important. They're waterproof. That's important in case you get a little bit of rain, a little bit of snow. They're also non-skid, which we also like. You know, depending on how cold it is, you really want to put a base layer on, which today we didn't do because it's not going to be that cold. Then put on a shirt, a long sleeve shirt, a t-shirt, some sort of hoodie, some sort of pants, of course. But next, you know, you want to put on your rain suit, and there's all kinds of different rain suits out there. Again, we'll put links in the description. My rain suit, the one that me and Mike both wear, are from Striker. I like it because they make it in the fat boy sizes all the way up to like 5 or 6X. And I layer enough underneath it that I don't use the insulated rain suits. Gloves. I like a good pair of gloves I can fish with that's going to keep my hands warm. These we're trying out this year. They're from Palmy, I guess is the name of the company. Again, some stuff, Palomouth. I don't know who makes them. Again, we'll put links in the description. But these I really like because they've got the magnets. Now, you guys have seen me, I used forever and a day the Glacier gloves. The one knock on the Glacier gloves is they were incredibly warm and waterproof. They used a little piece of Velcro, which was not a very good Velcro. What I like about these, they got some pretty strong magnets to them. And they work extremely well. Good grip, so you're not gonna throw your rod out in the cold water. So far, they're windproof. They're water resistant. Don't go sticking your hands. They're not neoprene like the Glacier gloves. Don't go sticking your hands down in the live well. But so far, I've stayed pretty warm with them. You can see kind of what's on the inside. Now, you've also heard us talk about the heated vest that helps keep our core warm. That has been a great investment this year. And then on top of that, an awesome BassGeek hoodie is out there. All you got to do is go to BassGeekFishing.com, go to gear, and we got all kinds of things, including 2 different versions of the BassGeek beanie. All kinds of apparel, t-shirts, stickers out there, but these things are awesome. Me and Mike both love these. Probably my favorite beanie that I've used so far. Just make sure you're layering. But the don't sweat. Do not sweat. So don't put all that layers on, jump in the truck, ride for 2 hours with the heat on high. Don't come out here and in the middle of the day it's nice and warm and start sweating. Take it off. When you start to feel just the smallest amount of body heat, take it off. Do not start sweating, because if you're going to be out there, 2 of the prime feeding times, first thing in the morning and right after about 3 o'clock till about sundown in the evening. And in the middle of the day, sometimes it can warm up and then the temperatures can drop. You do not want to get overheated and sweat. That is an absolute do not do, because it will be twice as miserable on that boat ride back or while you're still out there trying to catch fish. We're not sponsored by any of these companies in the layer other than BassGeek, and I'm not sponsored by them. It's just my stuff. Make sure you go check them out. So layers, absolutely, number 2. So number 1, when you're loading up. So it's been a nice day. It's got up into the low 60s today, but we know there's some cold weather coming. You want to make sure that you drain everything. We go ahead and pull the plug out, let it drain while we're going down the road. We got the plugs out of live wells. We've run all of our pumps to make sure that there's not a drop of water in the system. That's key. Motor, you're going to drain the water, and we trim up, trim down to get all the water out of the lower unit. But the big Merc, you need to start it. It's never good for the impeller to run it dry like that, which is the water pump, but you are going to start it and stop it. It is going to be a fire up and a shut down. Stay right here. All right, so basically, I'm going to fire it and I'm going to turn it off. are getting any water out of that pump system, and she's not going to freeze up and cause us more serious problems along the way. That is your number one do not do, because it's going to cost you a ton of money to replace the crack lower unit or worse. So those are our top 7 don't do's in the cold weather. Guys, be safe out there. Take care of yourself out there. Take care of your equipment, your rigs. Take care of your buddies. And if you're out there by yourself, take extra precaution. One of the things, and a bonus tip, carry some sort of torch style lighter. You never know, have it in your pocket, in your rain suit. You never know when you might get stuck with no electricity, no electronics on the lake for several hours. At least you can get to the shoreline and start a fire. Now, if you want to see a video on how I installed the boat effect steps on this boat, listen, they are incredible. I have not had to tweak them or tighten them one time. I weigh, well, I bounce anywhere from 3 to 350, depending on how much I'm out fishing, I guess, and not eating. But they work incredibly well. Save your knees, save your back. Don't be an idiot like me and fall off your boat. Make sure you go check out this video right here, and it's going to show you how to install them. Otherwise, questions, comments in the comments section below. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you ring that bell so you get notifications and join part of the 100% Watch Squad. You guys can't say thank you enough for allowing us to do what we do. You rock.